Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain. Day 86 of the current crisis, and today it's all about phase changes. People going into phase 2 like us here in Madrid, and people going into phase 3 in the rest of the country. 52% of the population going into phase 3. Firstly, a big thanks to the people that decided to support the channel through a donation. You can see your names here. Again, a big thanks to the people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news. And as I said, phase 3, phase 2, that is the stage that you are in today. No more phase 0, no more phase 1, either phase 2 or phase 3. And let's have a look here. We can see that regions under phase 3 of the virus de-escalation will allow free movement from Monday. Andalusia and the Basque Country confirmed on Saturday that trips between their provinces will be permitted, while some areas will hold back on that change. And we can also see here that Spain's bars and nightclubs can reopen under phase 3 on Monday, but no dancing allowed. Bull rings will also be permitted to restart their activity in phase 2, but with a third of capacity, all seats will be available on public transport too. So remember, there were some seat limitations on public transport, phase 2 going back to normal. So all of the seats on metros and trains and buses will get back to normal. Bull rings opening up again, but at a reduced capacity. If you're one of the few people in the world that actually like going to see bulls getting killed, that's again going to start as of today in phase 2 areas. And as we saw, bars and restaurants can reopen, but no dancing. So a little bit strange there, going to a nightclub and just standing around at a bar. But then again, back in the day when I was frequenting these places, we didn't do a lot of dancing. We used to just mainly stand at the bar and watch. But if you are a person that likes to dance, you still can't do that. Now let's have a look at some of the main things that you can do in phase 3. So as we can see here, there's a total elimination of time slots. Meetings of groups of up to 20 people. Consumption in bars is allowed, always keeping distance and hygiene measures. And the capacity of the outdoor terraced areas increases to 75%. Wakes can be held with a maximum of 50 people outdoors and 25 indoors. Weddings up to 150 people. You can go to your place of worship with a maximum of 75% capacity. The opening of common areas in hotels with a maximum of 50% capacity. The opening of retail stores at 50% of their capacity, and average training in federated non-professional leagues of up to 20 people. And casinos and gambling areas, gambling halls, arcades, raffles and specific betting areas are now open with a maximum capacity of 50%. So if you want to get out there and have a bit of a punt this week in a phase 3 area, you can do it, as the casinos and betting clubs are going to be open. Now what can we do in phase 2? Again, Madrid phase 2, a lot of Castilla y León in phase 2, Barcelona, of course, in phase 2. Let's have a look. So the elimination of time slots except for the elderly, and freedom of movement within the autonomous community. 15 people can get together. Places of worship with 50% capacity. Reopening of shopping malls with a 40% capacity in establishments and 30% in common areas. Reopening of hotel and restaurant establishments with a maximum capacity of 40%. The opening of recreational pools to the public. And cinema, theatres, auditoriums, exhibitions and monuments will reopen with a maximum capacity of 1/3. So those are the main things. But one of the key differences between phase 2 and phase 3, of course, is that in some phase 3 areas you can travel throughout your autonomous community, but in phase 2 we are still limited to the province. So I still can't leave the Madrid province. Now some good news also to countries that are reopening their borders, and we can see here from an interactive map that we have the red, yellow and green areas in the European Union. The red areas are going to be opening around the 15th or 16th of June. The green areas are countries that are already open, and the yellow areas are countries that are going to maintain their borders closed for longer. So, for example, we can see here that Portugal, the borders are going to be closed until the 16th of June. And here in Spain, we can see that on the 15th of May, they established a quarantine system for travellers who arrive in the country with justified cause. The official State Gazette published the extension until the 15th of June of the restrictions and controls of non-essential travel to Spain from EU countries and others associated with the Schengen area. Foreigners will have to pass a 14-day quarantine. Spain will reopen its borders with France and Portugal on the 22nd of June. So Portugal's going to open on the 16th, but Spain apparently not until the 22nd with that particular country. So the border is going to be open for one way, but not for the other way. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works, unless they come to some type of agreement before that, and they can open borders at the same time, which would make more sense. Now, another piece of news that caught my attention is that apparently there is huge demand for properties in Spain here at the moment. We can see here that lockdown location, surge in Britain searching for properties abroad. Spain, France, Portugal, the most searched for destinations in May, says Rightmove. Searches for properties in Spain, particularly in locations such as the Costa del Sol, were up 34% year on year during May, while those for homes in France in certain areas were up 33%, said the website. While some of those searching for properties will be serious about either relocating overseas or buying a holiday home, Rightmove acknowledged others were merely dreaming of a trip abroad, perhaps following the cancellation of their summer break. So there we have it. Interest in property in these countries is up, according to Rightmove. Is it true? Are you looking to buy property overseas at the moment? Are you looking to buy property in Spain? Or are you just dreaming about it because your summer plans have been changed? Let us know. Now, some interesting developments regarding the virus figures here in Spain, as the health department reports only 1 death in the last 24 hours and 72 in the last 7 days. Now, this has led some people here to say that the government is in a rush to sell a virus-free country and thus threaten the summer campaign. Contradictory measures from the past week and the new death registration system threatened to wreck all the land gained since the reopening of tourism was announced. So some people here now skeptical about how the figures are being reported and accusing the government of opening up too fast in order, as they said, to save that summer tourism campaign, as it's going to be hard to convince people to come to this country if there are still quite a lot of active cases and deaths as a result. Now, Spain's minimum income scheme is also in the news again, and we can see here that it will reach 255,000 people by June the 26th, says the Prime Minister. During a televised address today, Pedro Sánchez criticised cuts made to Spain's regional healthcare systems, but defended how the system had coped during the virus crisis. So again, another sign of how this is becoming a blame game between the central government and the autonomous communities that are in charge normally of the health systems here in Spain, and the cuts to the health system and education that have occurred over the last 10 or 12 years since the last crisis in 2008, therefore putting them under strain when push came to shove during the peak times of the virus here in this country. Now, it seems that Denmark is the most successful country in Europe when it comes to fighting this pandemic, and we can see here that Denmark was the first to close and the first to open, and no fight. Denmark's discreet success. Denmark is establishing itself as one of the examples of good management of the coronavirus crisis, and also in the reopening, which they are controlling without any new virus outbreaks. So there we go, Denmark, the picture of success regarding this crisis. I know there are a few people from Denmark that watch this channel, so let us know what the secret to your country's success is, please, as there are many things I'm sure that we can learn from it. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. One here from Chaz: the first day of summer is considered the 1st of June in the UK. Now that comment obviously refers to a point that I made in the last video when I said that the summer here in Spain begins on the 21st of June. I know that in the UK it doesn't start on that date, and of course in Australia we also have the dates of the season starting on the 1st of every month. So winter, for example, will start on the same day as summer in the UK. But here in Spain, and I imagine in other places in Europe, it is on the 21st, so there's a different system there. So it'd be good if everybody can get on the same page when it comes to the beginning of summer. One here from Marianne: you are not the only one having such a problem with masks. Because of the mandatory use of masks on planes, I will drive my scooter from Spain to Norway. I can use the mask in a shop and those small moments, but not for 4 hours to go on a plane. Yeah, thanks for the comment, Marianne. I can see your point that you don't want to have to wear a mask sitting on a plane for 4 hours. But sitting on a scooter all the way from Spain to Norway, something else is going to be a little bit sore and uncomfortable for a while there, I can imagine. One here from Edu: Spanish people in general are less educated than Portuguese people. Spain maintained to be very poor in their thinking. conservatism and dictatorial way of controlling the ways. Yeah, thanks for the comment. I'm not going to open the can of worms. I'm not going to say whether one group of people are more educated than the other. I think that there are some differences obviously between the two groups of people, but I don't know whether it's a question of education. Could we say that Spanish people are more conservative than the Portuguese? You might be able to argue that, but I'm not an expert on the topic, so I'll leave it for the comment section. One here from Rigo. Hey Stuart, greetings from California. Really appreciate your videos and updates. Had to cancel my trip to Spain for early May, but maybe next year. Started to learn Castilian Spanish and planning to retire in Spain in a few years. Thinking about Cartagena to start. Thanks again and keep them coming. Yeah, Rigo, thanks for the comment and good to see that you are deciding to learn Spanish before you come to this country. In my opinion, it is fundamental to have at least an intermediate level of Spanish, or more if you can, because if you want to be able to go about your day-to-day with no hassles and to avoid that stress of not being able to speak a language, and believe me, I know it's difficult. When I first came to Spain, I didn't speak the language, and I was even nervous every time I went outside just in case somebody asked me a question and I wasn't able to respond. But that's just me. I know there's lots of people in this country that come here and never improve their Spanish skills, and of course Castilian Spanish is the best Spanish to learn. One here from E. Serrano. Stuart, I understand your practical and realistic tone of wanting people to just come to enjoy but not to work. Perhaps if we changed the speech a little and had enough imagination to reinvent ourselves and create new formulas for employment, which perhaps are not yet in this plane of consciousness, we could together, Spaniards and foreigners, give a boost to this beautiful country. Let's take care of the message and open opportunities. Yeah, thanks for the comment. I know I can be a little bit negative when I refer to the job market here in Spain. That's just the way that I see it. There's a lot of bureaucracy that gets in the way. There's a lot of barriers to people creating jobs here. And in all the time that I've been here, I haven't seen any of those barriers lifted. Sometimes you hear the government say that they're going to help self-employed people, but it never seems to happen, and that's one of the big problems. The labour market here is extremely rigid, and that's one of the big problems that I see here. And the social costs are also huge for companies. And until that changes, and I'm not predicting that it's going to be difficult for people to come here and work. However, I do know that there are some sectors that are quite good, and some people do come here, find a good job, and enjoy working. But for a lot of people, the situation doesn't seem to be like that. But I do agree that we need to find new formulas for employment, but until the barriers are removed and those social costs are lowered a little bit, I can't see things changing here. One here from Richard. Hi Stuart, just to help clarify the Spanish mask wearing policy, do you need to have it over your mouth and face all the time when walking in the city in case someone gets within 2 meters of you? Or can you just have it on your person when the streets are pretty clear and put it on as you need? In your video, people were wearing masks even when there is no one around them. Yeah, Richard, good question. You don't need to wear your mask at all times. You need to have it on you, however, just in case you get into a situation where you can't have that 2 meter distance between you and another person. The government also recommends not to touch the mask too often, and that's why you see people wearing masks all the time, because people don't want to have to be putting them on and putting them off because they think that their hands are going to be dirty and they're going to infect themselves, obviously, and that's the reason why you see people wearing masks. But no, you don't have to wear them, but you have to have them on you if you are outside, and the police can stop you and ask you for it. One here from Joan. Hi Stuart, thanks for the updates. Will the commercial centres or shopping centres open in Madrid in phase 2? Yes, Joan, they will open. They are opening today, but there's going to be a limited capacity. I think it's 40 or 50%. We saw it before, I can't remember. And there's going to be 30% maximum in common areas. So yes, shopping centres are opening in Madrid today. One here from James. It's going to feel weird not darting to the counter for a space in a busy bar. The atmosphere of everyone talking, hustling and bustling will probably be gone for a little while, but I will continue to support many small traders and bars as possible. Thanks for the update, Stuart. Yeah, James, it's true. Bars here in Spain are not going to be the same. They're not going to be these busy, bustling places that they always have been, where you have to squeeze in between people at the bar in order to place your order. That's going to be gone. I'm looking forward to that, to be honest. One thing that I didn't like too much about the system here in Spain was that you had to push your way in and there was no order in a lot of places. People would come in and order in front of you, and that used to piss me off a little bit. But now for the time being, we're going to get served in bars and it's going to be a little bit less chaotic. One here from Living La Vida Luca. I love the way you say we can keep the insults to a minimum, still leaving us a window for a little bit of insulting. Yeah, you're right. I have been saying at the end of some videos that we need to keep the insults to a minimum. I don't want people insulting people, calling people ugly names. This here is a community. People are allowed to express themselves. People are allowed to have an opinion. People can be critical of some things. People can say whatever they want. But what I don't like is people calling other people names and insulting them if they don't agree with them. Everyone can have an opinion, and everyone's opinion needs to be respected as long as it's in the community guidelines. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.